Good morning, good people, brothers, sisters, and beautifully defiant siblings in the movement. Welcome to the unapologetic voice of labor, equity, and action. This is CWA Our Power Radio Show, where we amplify the organizers, uplift the everyday workers, and honor the giants whose shoulders we stand on right here on KYOK 1140 AM and 106.5 FM in the heart of Houston, Texas. If you're rolling through H-Town or just fired up anywhere in the world, stream us live on KYOKradio.org on the CWA Strong app or catch the replay anytime by searching CWA Hour of Power on your favorite podcast platform. Because this space, this time, it's about us. That's right. It's about us. We're talking union contracts, organizing victories, labor rights, human dignity, fair pay, and bold everyday resistance to injustice in every form. So whether you're on the job, in your car, at the kitchen table, or in deep fight, lean in, honk your horns if you stand with workers, throw a fist up if you know your worth. Joining me today are the fire starters and truth tellers, Mikeya Jones, Sir Reginald Small, Timmia Wiley, Tay Akins. So buckle up, beloveds, because the power we build together, that power is ours. Our union voices are ringing in every district from Alaska to Maine, Texas to Minnesota, Canada to Puerto Rico, because we don't play at CWA. Our union brothers, sisters, and siblings at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette have been outside for 34 months striking on the picket lines. And yet, while they're striking, they're still churning out the news with facts for you and me. Let's show our support to them by making sure we subscribe to unionprogress.com. Again, that's unionprogress.com. Once you subscribe to this free publication, how about going over and donating to their strike fund at cwa.org/ppg-donate. I just heard someone shout, when we fight, we win. Today, we honor an international symbol of resilience and radical inclusion, Rick Hansen, known as many as the man in motion. Rick is not only a Paralympian and world-class athlete, he is a relentless disability rights activist who transformed a personal challenge into a global movement. After a spinal cord injury at age 15, Rick turned it around. He rebuilt his life. He reimagined it. Between 1985 and 1987, he went across 34 countries, clocking over 40,000 kilometers in his wheelchair to raise awareness and funding for spinal cord research and accessibility. That mission raised more than $26 million. But even more importantly, it sparked worldwide conversation about what equity truly looks like when we include everybody. And Rick Hansen didn't stop at the finish line. Through the Rick Hansen Foundation, he launched a phase of activism, one that deliberately centers the lived experiences of people with disabilities and recognizes that disability justice cannot be separated from racial justice. His foundation works affirms that BIPOC communities, Black, Indigenous, and people of color, face disproportionate barriers when it comes to accessibility, healthcare, employment, and justice. Rick's team is actively addressing the gap through partnerships with indigenous nations like the Assembly of First Nations, honoring Indigenous Disability Awareness Month, and amplifying voices like Benvit Gill, a woman of color with a disability who speaks out about the double burden of racism and ableism. From celebrating Medi Scholars to supporting BIPOC-led accessibility policy, the foundation is walking the walk, or in Rick's case, rolling the roll. And here's why that matters to labor. Because when workplaces aren't accessible, when hiring isn't equitable, when Black and brown disabled workers are invisible, that's not just discrimination, it's a violation of basic human and labor rights. Rick Hansen's journey teaches us that inclusion isn't charity, it's justice, it's power, it's policy. So today we salute you, Rick Hansen, for proving that a wheelchair is not a limitation, but a vehicle for global change. Your movement reminds us when we build a world where the most marginalized can thrive, we all rise. This is Our Power Radio, where every worker counts, every voice matters, and every fight for freedom includes all of us. This has been your CWA Our Power Human Rights Spotlight. Stay strong, stay union, stay human. You're listening to KYOK 1140 AM and the all new 106.5 FM. If you're on the go, you can take us with you by visiting kyokradio.org. Tune in every Thursday, 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific on kyokradio.org, the CWA Strong app, or your preferred podcast player. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, iHeartRadio, Podchaser. Search for the CWA Hour of Power on your favorite podcast player. Up next, we have Mr. Reginald Small. Good morning, Reginald.
Good morning, Errol Minor, and good morning to my KYOK radio listeners. Today, we're going to be talking about Union 101, the power of us. The fight for labor, civil rights, and human rights never takes the day off. Right now, we're taking you back to the basics, but with the fire turned way up. This is Union 101, the power of us. Picture this. You clock in every day, you do your job with dignity, and yet your wages stay flat while the cost of living keeps rising. You speak up about safety, and they threaten your job. You watch others get promotions because of who they know, not what they do. Now imagine that you're not alone. Imagine 10, 50, or even 500 of your coworkers standing with you, not asking, but demanding fair pay, demanding equality, dignity, and respect. People, that's a union. That's your power, organized power. So let's talk a little truth about unions. Union workers in the U.S. make $1.50 more per hour on average than non-union workers. Over 90% of union workers have access to health insurance, compared to just 68% of non-union workers. Unions help close wage gaps. Black union workers earn about 16.4% more than non-union Black workers. For Latina women, the wage boost is just over 17%. And unionized young workers under 25 earn almost 33% more than their non-union peers. Unions are freedom in action. They were forged in protest lines, in factory walkouts, in speeches that dared to say, we're worth more. From A. Philip Randolph to Dolores Herta, from the coal mines of West Virginia to Amazon warehouses down in Alabama. This is our legacy, and this is indeed our future. But here's something that you won't hear, that they won't tell you. Who gets to decide if there's a union at your job? Not the company, not the CEO. The workers decide whether there is a union at your job. If a majority of employees want a union and vote for it, the company is legally required to recognize and bargain with them. They cannot stop you from organizing, but they will definitely try to stop you from organizing. That's why companies spend over $430 million a year on anti-union consultants. Yes, people, that's a real job. People who are trained to do union busting. They're pretty good at it. They hold mandatory anti-union meetings. They fire workers, they intimidate, and they flood staff with fear-based lies. Why? Because they know when we organize, we actually win. And when we win, they lose control. Unions are the last line of defense against corporate greed. They are how we fight back against racism, sexism, ableism, homophobia, and exploitation on the job. They are how workers say, you cannot divide us. If you're hearing this right now, and you're tired of being overworked, overlooked, and underpaid, this message is designed for you. You are not alone, you're not stuck, and you are definitely not powerless. A union, people, is not a building. It is not a building. It's you standing beside others who refuse to be silent. The choice to form a union belongs to the workers. If you've heard nothing else I've said, that power, the choice to form a union belongs to the workers. It always has, it always will. So let's organize, let's agitate, let's educate, because our power is union power. And union power, that power changes everything. Now back to you, Arrow Minor.
You're listening to KYOK 1140 AM and the all-new 106.5 FM. If you're on the go, you can take us with you by visiting kyokradio.org. Tune in live every Thursday, 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, right here on kyokradio.org, the CWA Strong app, or your preferred podcast player. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, iHeartRadio, Podchaser. Search for CWA Hour of Power. Up next, we're going to journey over into not for show real activism versus performative activism. And one of the quotes that we did on last week was from Sakami Bear. And he said that you don't find activism, activism finds you. So today we're putting something on the table that's long overdue. The difference between performative activism and real movement work. And this segment is inspired by Reverend Corrine Mack, the president of the Charlotte Mecklenburg NAACP, and a veteran civil rights and labor advocate based in North Carolina. Since taking the helm locally in January of 2015, she has consistently pushed for real, sustained activism and not just symbolic gestures. And Reverend Corrine Mack is a deeply committed and intersectional civil rights leader. And under her leadership, not just the symbolic gestures, but under her leadership, the Charlotte Mecklenburg NAACP has championed racial justice, LGBTQIA plus inclusion, environmental fairness, gun safety, affordable housing, and community unity. She's known for taking strong public positions, supporting marginalized voices, and holding power structures accountable. And yes, we must acknowledge it was Reverend Corrine Mack who called at the 116th NAACP convention in Charlotte, North Carolina, the people to real activism, not just performative activism. Because let's face it, some folks love the look of activism, but they don't want the labor. And we're here to tell the truth. We've got receipts, reflections, and real tools to help us all get better. Because as Zakami Bear says, come on in here, Reginald. Look like you got something to say.
He actually says you don't find activism, activism finds you. So performative activism is all about the optics. It's social media posts with no follow-ups. It's actually fake allyship. It's folks showing up when it's safe and sitting down when it gets real.
It's politicians tweeting, "I stand with workers," while union busting behind closed doors. It's corporations changing their logo for Pride Month, but firing trans workers.
And let's not confuse visibility with action. The truth is, activism without impact is just marketing.
And you're right. We've seen this over and over and over again during Black Lives Matter, during the Me Too movement, even during COVID. Everyone wanted to be seen, but not everybody wanted to serve. And I'll say that again, even in my statement. It's during Black Lives Matter, during Me Too. These things should be continuous. It should be something that we're fighting for every day because it didn't go away and it didn't end.
And real activism actually takes risk. It means showing up even when your job is on the line, even when your community doesn't fully understand, and even when you're tired. Now, don't take that to go and get yourself fired today, but it's just to say that it does take some risk.
And it's the black women in Alabama who organized their co-workers in a warehouse. It's the nurses at UAB who said, "We deserve more than praise. We deserve protection and pay."
Right.
It's the people filing grievances for others and holding meetings in churches and community centers and getting people involved and sitting through city hall meetings and showing up again and again and again.
And
Real activism is uncomfortable. It's unglamorous. We know we were just sweating in the heat, but
Okay.
it changes lives and it's building power.
It does. And let's name it. One example, some schools, as Mikeya said earlier, posted Black Lives Matter in 2020, then turn around and ban books during Black History Month in 2023. That's performative.
And you want another one? Brands
Yes.
during Pride Month putting rainbows on products and then donating to anti-LGBTQIA plus politicians behind the scenes. That's performative.
Now compare that to the unions like our union, CWA, showing up in courtrooms, labor halls, and strike lines every month, or orgs like Zim Rights in Zimbabwe, risking arrest to fight for community protection. That's real.
and as we know, real doesn't need a spotlight. Real doesn't need a camera. Real
Mm.
doesn't need a tweet. Real
Mm.
gets results.
And let's just get a little personal right now. So activism found me when I seen racism show up in my workplace, or I seen racism even showed up in my home for me because I was too young to work. But when I seen racism show up, I realized when it was my time, I couldn't ignore these things as they repeated. So I learned more about organizing. I had to organize. I had to do something.
And for me, it was watching my grandmother fight through a healthcare system that never treated her like she mattered. Watching the elderly be treated so poorly, to get the funds and the benefits that they were promised after working and breaking their backs for so long. And that anger turned into action for me.
Mm-hmm.
And activism actually found me at my dining room table when having dinner with a friend who was an educator, came there to tell me about his day, and he's telling me that there's a child who was had a problem that needed depends and wipes in the second grade, and that the children were teasing him, and that his family couldn't afford to give him those things that he needed. So he was becoming a victim in school.
Mm.
I went to work the next day, told the ladies on the job, and we ended up with cases of depends and clothing for this second grader. I didn't plan to be an activist, but we organized around an issue because we cared about the subject matter and we made the difference.
And it also found me back in high school, um, when I saw how women and LGBTQ folks were being mistreated. You don't realize at a young age that you're becoming an activist when you organize protests or walkouts at school, or when you bring things to the attention of the principal or of the social workers and everything in your school. You don't realize it in the moment when you're doing it. But when I think about it, that's when activism was born for me, was in high school, where we saw injustices and we said we're not going to just stand by and let it happen.
Hmm. And for me, it's generational. My family taught me that if you don't fight for your people, you're part of the problem. And I think in today, a lot of people still are quiet because they don't know, uh, when to say something. And this is why it is so critical. Or I kind of took this quote home from Zakami Bear when he says, "You don't find activism, activism finds you." And a lot of times, people, something has to affect them in their personal, in order for activism to activate. I'm reminded and of Paul and Phoebe that the gift has to be stirred up in you, and as soon as something happens, as soon as something really gets next to you, that's when that activism is stirred up in you, and you want to be on the front lines. And I want you guys to just sit with this question, if you don't mind. When did activism find you? Just think about that for a minute. Even in our listening audience, I want you guys to think about, when did activism find you?
Let me ask you, was it when you saw injustice in your workplace, or when you were a kid and you seen your family member come home crying, or when you seen someone at your job being treated unfairly?
And what did you do next? Did you act or did you freeze? And this isn't a guilt trip. This is like a growth check, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we all start somewhere. But the point is, we can't just stay at the surface. We can't just watch things from the sidelines and allow things to happen and then talk about it in the background, right? You have to start somewhere. You have to step up somewhere. You have to take that first step.
And tell us the moment that it found you, that activism found you. Hit us up after the show. Share your truth. Let's learn from each other.
So what can we do now? That's the $1 million question today. What can we do now? So let's land this plane. Here's how we can move beyond the performative. Because I say this all of the time. In my hometown, I hate when people just want to get in front of a camera just for just a few moments and say all types of things and don't have substance. So let's get out of just the performative activism. Let's move past that, because every tub has to sit on its own bottom. And since we're talking about a real activism today, the first thing that you need to do is go to your union and join a union committee. There are many committees that are available: the Civil Rights and Equity Committee, the Women's Committee, the Human Rights Committee. Join that committee, so you can make a difference. And if you're not a member of a union, just don't say, "I'm not a member of a union, so I don't have any union hall to go to." You have a local grassroots organization that will be willing to take you, put you to work, because we have so much work to do. You can always challenge injustices at work, even if it's uncomfortable. Sometimes you have to have those uncomfortable conversations at work. Those things where you see where some people just want to continue to say racist remarks, tell racist jokes. That's the opportunity for you to stand up and make a difference. And not only speaking out for yourself as well as for other workers, but push for policy, not just posts. Push for policy, not just post. And it's many people that are out on the various social media entities. Let me tell you something. If all you're doing is posting, you need to check your privilege and use it for good. Make some policy. And this is the other thing. The movement, the activism is not about you. Don't center yourself in the movement. Center the movement itself. Come on, Tay. I think you was leaning in there.
Yes, because listen, we know we all make mistakes, but this is how you correct them. You learn from them, you grow from them, and you do better.
And
Nobody's perfect, right? But silence, apathy, and fake allyship, that's deadly. And I just want to go back to what Errol said because it struck me when he said, push for policy, not just posts. Activism isn't trendy. Okay. It's not a trend. It's not something that you just jump on the bandwagon with because other people are talking about it. And I feel like that's where we fail, especially now in this day and age where whatever is popular is what's being pushed into the spotlight. And I'm not saying don't get behind things that that are popular. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is don't leave it behind once it's no longer trending.
Mm.
because Mikeya, we need both. We need action and post.
Yes.
We need them both so that we're clear on that, because technology plays a major part in pushing the agenda now. So we actually do need both.
Y'all make that notation. He said that now.
Yeah, I did say that, but Errol, I'm gonna slip back and regress just a moment, because I just can't let you throw something out and not go a little deeper. Every tub must sit on its own bottom.
Yes.
Would you explain that to me? Because I thought that was a phrase coined by my grandmother, and I'm still suspicious that you stole it from me. But would you break that down?
Every tub has to sit on its own bottom. You have to be able to do your own thing. You have to be able to stand when nobody else is standing. I can't go and just stand on Mikeya's shoulders 100% of the time. I'm going to wear her out. I'll use her up. And what good is she in the movement if she is pouring into me and then she's never getting poured into? So every tub has to sit on its own bottom. Come on, Mikeya, look like you got something to say.
That is a word. And I think that that's another thing that we don't identify, right? It's like we always say that. I hear that quote a lot, like we stand on the shoulders of others, right? But what happens when you break those people down, right? What happens when those people are broken down? Does that break down the movement as well? Does the movement disappear because they're now broken down? It is you guys both hit the nail on the head. It's so important that we support each other, right? Nobody, now I was a cheerleader, right? And we used to have to do pyramids and be bases and all of this stuff. And you can't be the only one down there. Right. Because the whole thing is going to fall. You have to support each other. So even though I was a base, I still had somebody else supporting me in my rest to hold somebody else up. And I know everybody's not going to get that analogy because everybody wasn't a cheerleader, but I'm just saying, like, you need that support and that stability from the bottom, but those people on the bottom need support and stability as well.
You're absolutely correct. And I always give an analogy of I think everybody on here likes coffee or tea. And if we just keep pouring or keep drinking and never pouring back in, we're going to eventually run out of tea. We're going to eventually run out of coffee. And that's why I'm so glad our group, the human rights and civil rights, that group, the committees that we're in, everyone takes the time out to check on each other and to make sure that we are in our correct mental, because we are always being active. We're always somewhere doing something. And this is what I like about Tay and her personality right here, that when she recognizes that she's not in that mental space, she regresses. But then it's all of us reaching out to her. Hey, you all right? What's going on? We got you, et cetera, et cetera. So she can rejuvenate. And that's why I'm so glad. I think Tay and I, we talked about this when we were in New Orleans along with Kwame, that human rights saved our lives to be able to do the things that we want to do, our passions, our activism. And then when we looked at our own personal lives and was just like, you know what? There are other people out there that need us. That made a difference for us in our conversation.
It did, Errol. So I will tell y'all, I think that everybody right now, especially during today's times, we need to take a step back sometimes. And I always say, check on your strong friends. That's everyone on this call. Sometimes we don't know we have bad days until we do our debriefs, our little behind the scenes, like,
Yeah.
your week, not so good, a tough one. And you all feel that energy. So you have to understand that that's something that I've said is union is not just representation, it's family. We know what we need. We understand what we need better than anyone because we are the people working so hard. Y'all, we work so hard. So who knows us better than us? Working
Right.
people. You can't fight for the poor people if you've never been poor. You can't fight for the working people if you never really worked.
Well,
You
now
know,
wait a minute. You can fight for the working people if you've never worked, and you can fight for poor people if you've never been poor. And I think that that's where we kind of lose it, right? Just because I haven't experienced what you experience doesn't mean that I can't fight for you. So I get that. I may not know, and I may not be able to understand exactly what it means to be poor or what it means to be a working person, but I think that we need to be more empathetic and more human and
Mm.
recognize and realize that the struggle is real to this person, even if the struggle is not personal to me, even if this is not a reality of mine, it is a reality of someone else, and I need to stand up for them.
so let me clarify really quick because I always love when I have these conversations with you. You know you mine. So what I mean by that is lived experience is everything. So when someone speaks for us, sometimes you don't feel like it's genuine because do you know what it feels like to break your back? Do you know what it feels like?
Mm.
Or are you just talking for another vote? So I definitely appreciate you every single time we have these conversations. So what I mean is you can't fight for me like I can because this is a lived experience. That's
Mm.
my union. They live the same lifestyle that I do. I don't have not one person that I go to these conferences with that told me, Tay, I'm a millionaire right now. We don't sit at we talk about these long hours. So yes, yes, you are correct. We can fight for each other, but lived experience is everything.
Come on, Reginald.
Well, I mean, a whole lot has been said, and I can't add a but or an and to it, but I can say this. Um, Anyone who has the will and who's wanting to join into this movement, this human rights movement, we can get you trained. I mean, you can come with no
Right.
experience, you can come with plenty of experience, but we can train you. What it takes is a desire. You have to have the desire first, and the rest of it, we can work with it.
All right. Come on, close it on out, Reginald.
Errol, that might have been the close, but I will say this. Activism is definitely not for show. To get back to what we were talking about, it is
Mm-hmm.
for freedom, it is for dignity, it's for workers, it is for the people still waiting on justice. The
Mm-hmm.
world doesn't need more hashtags, it needs more heart.
Say it one more time for the people in the back.
The world does not need more hashtags. It needs more heart.
So we close with the words of Zakimi Bear. You don't find activism, activism finds you.
Let it find you, let it change you, and let it move you.
Because performative isn't power, but we are. People are power.
You're listening to KYOK 1140 AM and the all new 106.5 FM. If you're on the go, you can take us with you by visiting kyokradio.org. Tune in live every Thursday, 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific on kyokradio.org, the CWA Strong app, or your preferred podcast player. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, iHeartRadio, or Pod Chaser. It's better in a union, our labor of love. Listen, We're talking first person now.
Y'all, listen, it was hot, y'all, okay? And I know it was hot because I had on sandals and I was branded by the sun with the sandal marks in my feet and a farmer tan on my arm from my t-shirt. It was hot. And we
Yes.
stood out in the sun in support of our union siblings. On July 14th, the AFL-CIO had its a Better in a Union bus tour and enrolled into Charlotte and parked right outside of the 116th NAACP National Convention. And let me tell you, it wasn't just another press stop. It was a movement checkpoint. People came from everywhere, Texas, Michigan, Georgia, Mississippi, the Carolinas, all over just to hear one message. It's time to organize, it's time to unify, it's time to unionize, and the time is now.
Yes.
So
And
for those people who don't know, Mikeya, what the AFL-CIO is for, some of us do, some of us don't. The AFL-CIO stands for the American Federation of Labor and Congress of Industrial Organizations. It's just the national trade union center in the United States, serving as the largest federation of unions. Just wanted to throw that out there.
thank you so much, Reginald. And maybe we need to do a segment one day on the AFL-CIO, how they came together. That'll be a good thing. You want to lead that one of these days, Reginald?
Certainly,
All
Errol.
right, thank you so much. And let's not get it twisted. This tour has wheels, but it's not
Literally.
about photo ops. It started strong in Washington, D.C., then made noise in Newport News, Virginia, with the steel workers, went down to Greenville, South Carolina at the state AFL-CIO convention, American Federation of Labor, Congress of Industrial Organizations. Then it went down to Detroit, Michigan, in the heart of the labor movement, journeyed down to Nashville, Tennessee, where they're feeling the squeeze, went over to the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania with the USW, and then Atlanta heating up with the IBEW. But for us, that Charlotte stop was personal. Yes, it was. That Charlotte stop was personal. And we were standing outside the NAACP convention with civil rights and labor warriors. That was sacred ground. What?
And
Come
let's
on,
be
my
real.
kid. Yeah.
It's let's be real, it's not just hot outside. It's hot everywhere. People are being mistreated, underpaid, and ignored. It's hot when our enslaved ancestors were forced to build this country. It was hot in the cotton fields, the factories, and the mines. It was hot in Selma, hot in Memphis when Dr. King stood with sanitation workers. And yes, it was hot in Charlotte, but we didn't melt. It's hot in these immigration retainment centers. It's hot in these courtrooms with these children when they don't have their parents. And, we rose together because this is our labor of love. So despite the heat, we need to come together.
Yes.
And that's right, Mikeya. And we were not standing in the heat for fun, obviously, or for our own entertainment. We were standing for the working class, for that nurse tech pulling 12s with no breaks, for the warehouse worker who's trying to survive on $15 an hour, and for the folks who've never even been offered a union card. And let's give a shout out to our very own Tay Akins, who stood on that press platform at the AFL-CIO event and let the world know why it's better to be in a union. Go, Tay. You did an amazing job.
Thank you. I'm always proud to represent the CWA. I'm always proud to represent what union values actually mean, because I'm not just speaking for me, I'm speaking for the people, my generation, my co-workers. It's better in a union because we deserve to be heard, because we want to bargain, not beg, because safety and dignity shouldn't be a luxury. And because when we fight together, we win together.
Yes.
I'm not asking for permission to be respected. I'm organizing. We are organizing. And now we are demanding it.
And we carry with us the words of Liz Shuler, who's the AFL-CIO president. who said, "A good union job gives us the freedom we need, the fairness we deserve, and the security our families rely on."
And at the mic in Charlotte, the AFL-CIO Secretary Treasurer Fred Redmond laid it down. He said, "We're getting on this bus to make sure every working person knows there's a place for them." And that's real, guys. And the tour isn't just about where the bus is, it's about where the movement is going.
And this is bigger than a moment. This is bigger than a rally. This is bigger than standing outside in 1,000-degree heat in Charlotte. This is a movement for people who are tired of silence, sick of being expendable, and ready to build power.
So here's the invitation. If you're listening to this and wondering if it's time to organize, it is time. If you're tired of watching your coworkers suffer in silence, speak up. And if you're ready to turn that anger into action, come join us. Because you don't have to go it alone when you're in a union.
This is our labor of love. Now, although we make it look good, it's not glamorous, it's not easy, and it's not cool. But it is righteousness, and is absolutely necessary. It's better in a union because this is our labor of love.
This isn't a moment. And we must acknowledge it. This isn't a moment. This is a movement, and it's always going to be better in a union. You're listening to KYOK 1140 AM and the all new 106.5 FM. If you're on the go, you can take us with you by visiting kyokradio.org. Tune in every Thursday, 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific on kyokradio.org, the CWA Strong app, or your preferred podcast player. We're going to go down and bring in our guest of the day, and that is David Marshall from CWA Local 6215. And Reginald is going to talk to David today. Good morning, David. Good morning, Reginald, again.
All right, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning again, Errol. So, of course, you know, David is our Executive Vice President here at CWA Local 6215 in Dallas, Texas, and he's a fierce advocate for labor rights, racial justice, and building multi-generational worker power. David recently participated in the NAACP's 106th National Convention Roundtable, and he did a spectacular job with some discussion on economic justice and equality. So we're happy to have David here with us today. Welcome to the show, David. You're no stranger to KYOK Radio. You, even when you're not on the show, you're listening to us every week. So we really, really appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here.
So David, at the NAACP Convention Roundtable, the phrase, "the fierce urgency or now," really resonated. So what does that phrase mean to you, especially for working families and organized labor?
Well, that phrase originally was from Dr. Martin Luther King, which means we can't afford to wait for justice, especially economic justice. For families today, the fierce urgency and now means fighting for livable wages, ending the racial wealth gaps, and just making sure every worker, whether brown, black, white, immigrant, they have the right to organize without fear. For unions like the CWA, it reminds me we're not just bargaining for better pay, we're organizing for dignity and democracy on the job and also in our communities.
So David, thank you for that, David. What are some of the most urgent challenges that you're seeing in the workforce right now? And what's actually standing in the way? You know, what's a roadblock standing in the way of meaningful change?
Well, some of the biggest challenges are stagnating wages, inflation outpacing pay, corporations treating workers like they're disposable. I mean, we got folks working 2 to 3 jobs to survive. And what's standing in the way? Political inaction, corporate greed, a rollback of labor rights. But the good things is that groups like us here at CWA, we're pushing back. We're organizing in healthcare, telecom, media, and beyond, because we know that real change starts at the grassroots level.
David, as we all know here in CWA, and for our KYOK radio listeners, we know that our CWA is built upon a triangle system, organizing, movement building, and representation. And that movement building is also a legislative piece. And you mentioned something in here, political inaction. And in some unions now, politically, we don't want to talk about that what's going on in our society right now. What can you offer right now to give us? How can we build some cohesiveness when it comes to our political movement and movement building?
As far as with your paycheck is political, all right. And your job security is on the ballot. Do you think the federal workers that voted for the current administration thought that vote would cost them their job? Elections have consequences. Voter suppression, affirmative action, a woman's right to choose, anti-union politicians, and anti-DEI attacks all come from the same playbook. It's an agenda they've been trying to push for over a half century. And now that they're in control of all three branches of government, it seems like there's not much we can do. But the good news is there's a lot we can do. We can definitely vote our way out of this situation. But we can also get in these streets and protest these attacks every chance we get. We have to continue to educate, mobilize, and turn out labor households. In CWA, we've launched programs that link voter education to workplace justice, because it's not just about casting a vote, it's about building long-term political power.
You have said a mouthful. Thank you. So we're seeing more attacks on union rights at the state and federal level. How are our members and allies, or how are your members and allies actually pushing back?
Well, we've been organizing in a lot of different areas. We've been having some wins in higher education that are huge. Workers in newsrooms, universities, and call centers are showing that even in right to work states, union power is rising. I mean, just a few months ago, we negotiated Microsoft gaming division ZeniMax. It was the first contract of its kind in the gaming industry, which hopefully will pave the way for others in the industry to secure collective bargaining agreements. So, the lesson's really clear. When workers lead and we support them with solidarity and structure, we can beat the odds and build momentum by lifting each other up, sector to sector and generation to generation.
Sector to sector, generation to generation. That leads me to my next question. So what does it really look like? We hear a lot about working families. What does it really look like to truly invest in working families?
Well, to me, I think it looks like union contracts with strong health care, paid family leave, child care support, fair scheduling, and having a true work-life balance. It looks like hiring practice that center racial equality. Employers must stop treating labor as a cost and start seeing it as the engine of their success. Unions and elected officials must fight together for policies that prioritize people, not just profits.
Thank you. And David, I mean, gosh, you're such a wealth of information. So how do you think we can connect labor issues to voting and civic engagement, especially heading into this election cycle?
Well, again, we just got it. We got to break. Unfortunately, we're in the FAFO stage of this Project 2025, and it's one of those deals where it's going to be easier for us to educate folks on the issues, because these issues are going to affect them in real time. So we have to make sure that we are going to be educated on the issues so that we can properly explain how different legislation and different policies affect them, so that we can control the narrative and make sure that they're getting the proper information to make good decisions on who they vote for.
I was listening to a Pandora radio station this morning, David, and the song that came up was an old song out of the 50s, a gospel song that says, I have hope. It's a beautiful hope, and it's within me. So speaking of that hope, I'm thinking, what gives you hope right now in our labor movement?
For me, it's the young people, the next gen organizers, the Amazon workers, the student workers. They're not waiting for permission. They're actually taking the lead. I see hope in the solidarity across race and region, Black, white, Latino, Asian, queer, straight, rural, urban. Folks are uniting. And that's the power of labor when we lead with love and fight with a purpose.
And David, let's dream a little today. If we truly invested in working families, what would our economy and democracy look like in 5 years?
Well, I would see thriving communities, not just families surviving. I'd see a fair tax system, affordable education, strong unions, universal health care, affordable housing, and a democratic workplace. Our democracy would reflect the people that keep this country running: the nurses, the teachers, the technicians, call center workers, sanitation crews, basically anyone that works for a living. I mean, we all have to realize that this doesn't have to be a dream. It can be a demand. And with the fierce urgency of now, this demand is well within our reach. So let's make that dream our new reality.
The fierce urgency of now. We appreciate you, David Marshall, CWA Local 6215. Come back anytime. We really appreciate you. Are there any parting words for us today?
Well, I just want to thank you all, and I look forward to seeing all of you guys at the convention and also the Minority Caucus. Make sure you get your tickets.
Thank you, David. Now back to you, Errol Minor.
Thank you so much, Reginald Small and David Marshall, for tuning and or for coming back into the studio, because that is a wealth of knowledge. And David, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I must say we enjoyed the roundtable at the NAACP with you and your other constituents on stage. That was awesome. And you guys had the audience's attention. So thank you. And thank you for coming back today to share with that, because I know that our union members also would have thoroughly enjoyed.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Anytime.
All right. Thank you so much. You're listening to KYOK 1140 AM and the all new 106.5 FM. If you're on the go, you can take us with you by visiting kyokradio.org. Listen and subscribe to us. Tune in live every Thursday, 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific on kyokradio.org, the CWA Strong app, or your preferred podcast player. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, iHeartRadio, and Podchaser. Search for the CWA Hour of Power on your favorite podcast player. That's right, you have choices. As we come down to the final minutes of the show, our union brothers, sisters, and siblings at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette have been outside for 34 months on the picket lines. And yet, while they are striking, they are still churning out the news with facts for you and me. Let's show our support to them by making sure we subscribe to unionprogress.com. Once you subscribe to this free publication, how about going over and donating to their strike fund at cwa.org/PPG-donate. I just heard someone shout, "We are one." And that's right, we are one. July and all of its awareness days are an opportunity for you, yes, you, to take action and learn more today. When you take time to learn about others around you, you're making the world a better place. Awareness campaigns serve as a powerful reminder that there are steps we all must take in looking out for loved ones, the people in our community, and those who have been impacted. It's time to take a one big step, giant step together and make a change. An hour is not long enough to be with you, and a week is too long to be away from you. You have been tuned into the CWA Human Rights Our Power broadcast. I hope something you heard today has inspired you to take action toward creating positive change in the world. Every person has the power to make a difference, no matter how small. And by working together, we can create a world where human rights are respected and valued. So I encourage each of you in the listening audience to reflect on your role in promoting human rights to effect change in your communities and beyond. Know that you're not alone in your quest for a more just and equitable world. When faced with injustice, it can be easy to lose hope and give up. But remember, justice may be slow, like the truth, but when it finally comes, it will stand. Until next Thursday, 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, right here on KYOK 1140 a.m. and the all-new 106.5 FM, KYOKradio.org. See you next week.
Did you stop the recording?